Are you craving more lightness and connection? Are you feeling a little or a lot burnt out? Are you yearning to return to joy and the warmth of your heart? Or simply desire to align in harmony with the season of summer? If so, this conversation is for you. As we settle into the vibrant season of summer, we're invited into nature's most expansive, expressive time. A season ruled by the element of fire and connected to the heart in Chinese traditional medicine. Today's episode is a gentle reminder that we are nature. And when we learn to live in harmony with the seasons, not against them, we unlock a deeper sense of health, emotional balance, and energetic flow. So find a comfortable space, maybe step outside, or if you're like me, you're probably driving or doing chores. As a heads up, we do begin each episode with sacred space. Sacred space is a moment of pause to take a deep breath and drop back into the present moment. We're all super busy and the world just keeps getting faster. To drop in and tune back into our breath, I believe is going to be the key to staying grounded as the world continues to speed up. You can always come back to this episode for these few minutes of guided meditation, or just skip ahead to the interview with special guest Catherine Atwood on this topic. However you would like to proceed and experience this episode, take a deep breath in. And let's begin. Welcome to Serenade to the Soul, a yoga and wellness experience. I'm your host, JackieOM. Close your eyes if you feel safe to do so. Begin by noticing your breath. No need to change it. Just observe it. Let your inhale rise like warm air, and your exhale settle you like roots into earth. Feel summer all around you. Breath in, breath out. Imagine or feel the sun above you, not harsh, but golden and radiant, pouring down a soft warmth, just enough to make your skin glow. With each breath, allow this light to travel inward, into your chest, into the space of your heart. Breathe as if your heart's doing the breathing. Inhale to your heart. Exhale through your heart. Summer is ruled by the element of fire and the heart. A season of joy, compassion, and connection. So feel that energy of love and radiance and happiness and joy and a sense of bursting from the heart. Breath in, breath out. Maybe placing one hand gently over your heart. Connect. Feel the rhythm of life beneath your palm. This is you, your essence, your frequency. Absorbing all this love and gentleness towards self, your joy, your vitality, your inner summer sun. With every inhale, feel it grow brighter, expanding warmth into your chest, With every exhale, feel it soften, sending ripples of calm through your whole body. Imagine flowing with this loving calm into the rest of your day with everyone you come across. When you're ready, open your eyes. And take in the surroundings. And invite in the energy of gratitude. Hello, friends. Let's welcome Catherine Atwood on the show today for How to Align with Nature this summer for health and balance. For over 20 years, Catherine has helped people reconnect with the wisdom of their bodies, one breath at a time. She has provided her clients with wellness services including yoga, health coaching, and cooking, TRE, trauma tension release exercises, and Qigong flow as modalities to restore health and balance using the holistic lenses of homeopathy, circadian rhythm, Ayurveda, and traditional Chinese medicine to look at the whole person. She worked diligently to empower people with a wide range of ailments from autoimmune to digestive issues, ADD, ADHD, and PTSD to cancer, to take ownership of their health and live full lives. Each season brings a different set of challenges for the body and the mind. In this episode, we'll talk about preparing our mind and body for the season of summer by including dietary adjustments, lifestyle practices, and movement focusing on cooling the body, nourishing fluids, and maintaining balance. Catherine, before we begin, what is your origin story for yoga and holistic health?
Well, so first, I'm so grateful to be here. And my origin yoga is, I don't know if I truly remember or if I've been told so many times that I remember that story. But my mom would always take me to yoga with her because she was a single mom and often didn't have childcare. I've been told that I was taken to a yoga retreat at age 3, and yoga has always been a part of my life. Is the short answer.
You're rare,
and I cannot say that I was very fond of it. In my childhood, I was very chatty, very talkative, and I did not like to have to be quiet for an hour. And the yoga classes, the Hatha yoga class that I attended, it's a stark difference between the yoga class that I attended and the yoga classes that are now, fast moving. And it was, we worked on one posture at a time, and everything was very slow and very silent and meditative. And I remember I was not really fond of the smell of incense, and I would fall asleep in Shavasana each time, and often my mom would have to carry me on the bus home.
Oh, that's so cute.
So that's my yoga story. My health and holistic health. My mom and herself really spent a lot of time and energy on healing her digestion, and she had been frustrated with what Western medicine was offering at the time, and this was all prior to my birth. So by the time I came along, she had truly embraced a more holistic lifestyle, and that's that's all I knew. So it was a shock to me, like the first time that as an adult, one of my friend had one of her baby had an ear infection, and I thought everybody knew that you just stick a little piece of garlic in their ear and then it's gone. But I quickly realized that was not everyone's experience.
I didn't know that, but now I do. I will use that when my children have an earache.
I actually use our garlic oil now. It's less messy and it smells a little bit less like Italian, like a spaghetti.
Oh, well, that's amazing. Like I said, you're one of the rare ones who was really born into this lifestyle, and you really exude this peaceful and abundant energy that's really pleasant to be around. We are talking about summer here, so in regard to our digestion and making our gut microbiomes happy and healthy, what are the most important things we need to keep in mind as we enter the summer season?
So, again, it's become maybe overused, but eating things that are local and in season are so supportive of the gut because of the microorganisms that are at play here. So I was visiting my daughter, and she was making herself a mango smoothie, which, mango are so refreshing in the summertime and wonderful. And I actually really enjoy a mango in the summertime. That's the only time of year that I will usually indulge in mango because it is so refreshing. So if you think about where mango grow, it's usually where it's very hot and tropical climate. So eating those food in the middle of the summer makes logical sense. It's definitely not a local food, where we are exactly. It makes more sense to eat mangoes in the middle of the summer than in the middle of winter, where eating that food may create like mucus and just same like bananas in the middle of winter. So those are food that are nourishing, that gives us moisture, that extra moisture. So eating them in the appropriate time is more beneficial. Now back to the gut bacteria and the microflora that's available in season. So when in my backyard, when I'm growing, so what came out in my garden were the greens. So the greens were growing. I have some arugula and all of those were the first one to come in the spring. So all of those spring greens and asparagus. And then as we move into summer, then definitely the tomatoes and the peppers are coming out. And all of these food just can balance the body and meet the body where it's at. Cilantro is another one that I love to add to a lot of my food in the summertime. It's an instant coolant for the body.
So point number one is to eat local and in season. This best helps support our gut microbiome and diversify the healthy bacteria within us. I know that's always been on my list, but I kind of get in habit of eating the foods I like, and the foods I eat often are the foods I crave. So if for people out there like me who get stuck on certain foods and don't want to give them up, what is a good way for us to transition, step by step into exploring and breaking out of our comfort zone when it comes to eating and trying new things?
Well, that's a great question. And when it comes to eating, there's so many things that are tied to our eating, just so many emotions, right? And so, and back to the summer connects with the heart, and then the joy and connection. So looking at our connection to food And then I love to go visit farmers market in the summer. A lot of markets have special events. It's a fun treat to take the kids to. Sometimes they'll have music and outdoors, and just to look at what is offered. And then maybe you pick one thing that you'll try, it can be, I remember, by the first time that I bought kohlrabi, like I didn't know what that was. I was not sure how to cook it, but it was an adventure and I really enjoy it now. I remember, the first time I bought golden beets, and you can get root vegetable this time of year. They're tiny. The carrots are tiny. The beets are small. Radishes is one of my favorite one that you can just eat raw. It's so full of moisture, and if you like some with a little bite, it will just wake you up. But just challenge yourself to try one new things. And when you see it at the farmer's market, and I love to talk to the farmers too, because they have so much heart and passion for their produce, that's a great way to keep that fire burning, right? Yes. So, they are excited, and then they put that excitement.
And that excitement and joy transfers over into the food that you bring home and then eventually put into your body. So it's already, like, before you even eat it, it's embedded with love and joy and health. That's a great answer. I want to go now and bring my kids. For most of us kids who have children or take care of children, we all, it's very familiar that kids are very picky eaters, especially when they get to certain ages. My kids used to eat everything when they were, 1 to 2, but now that they are becoming more independent and have more autonomy, they want certain things, kind of like me, get attached to certain foods. How do you recommend, especially with vegetables? And my kids love fruits, but they just won't give veggies the time of day. What are your suggestions for children who won't give healthy foods the time of day?
So that's another great question, because intuitively, we're born with, we like the sweet taste. Mother milk is sweet. The other tastes are developed over time. I know several of my Indian friends would start when the babies were small. They would apply little quantity of spices on their lips to get them used to the different flavor and smell and taste, right? So I talk about the different taste, and in traditional Chinese medicine, in Ayurveda, looking at those lens. And when you include all of these tastes in your preparation, you give the body the most chance to be satiated. Now, having said that, the balancing flavor of the summer is bitter, which is the least favorite flavor of all, and especially in the U.S. So sometimes it takes a little bit to get used to, and a lot of those vegetables are. The fruits and vegetables, the way that I like to view them is that they give us the antioxidant, vitamins, but they don't sustain or support you, right? So if you eat like a big salad, it will give you lots of antioxidant, but you cannot go run a marathon on that, right? So you need another source for protein for that deep nourishment. So it's okay that kids don't gravitate towards vegetable to start with. But I always encourage my children when they were young to always try what I was serving beside our protein. So I would have I serve different meat. We're omnivore. And then I would cook some vegetables on the side, and then they had to take a bite, even though they didn't have, they just had to taste it. And I would really tell my kids that our taste bud, we have over 10,000 taste buds, are constantly evolving and changing. So I made it kind of a game that when my kids, and the example that comes to my mind is a beet. Again, I talked about golden beets earlier, but I really enjoy beet myself. And it's something that I think I learned later in adulthood to truly enjoy, because the way that they were prepared when I was young just really didn't connect with me. And it wasn't until I tasted a golden beet that was just roasted to perfection that I was like, wow, this is amazing. So I remember fixing beets, and then my daughters, who are almost 5 years apart, so the oldest one was not a big fan. And I think that it's when she was about 3 that I remember serving beets. And then each time that I would fix beets, she would go for it. And she was like, I wonder if my taste bud have changed today. Like, because that was, and then, one day she loved beets, and now she's 25 and still does. And I actually remember the same thing happening with my youngest one with beets again. Because that was one thing that we all loved beets by this point, including my oldest daughter, but the youngest one didn't. But she also at some point was like, wow, this is amazing. And so I think just being curious and open. And I also firmly believe, like with my kids, I say hunger is the best cook. So when you're hungry, things taste a little bit better.
Yes.
And I always add a couple of choices of fallback if they did not like the meal. But typically, if you're hungry at the next meal, you're more likely to try something.
So I love that, turning things into a game, because children are naturally curious and games are fun, and it brings that joy, that heart out in them. Yeah, I'm definitely going to try that. What types of seasoning do you recommend for kids, or in the summertime or in general, that we can put on foods that will encourage them to try?
Yes. So one of my favorite seasoning in the summer is I ground equal amount of coriander, whole coriander seed, cumin seed, and then a little bit of raw sugar, about the same, 1 of each. And then I grind it in the coffee grinder, and then you can add it to any flavoring. So it has a little bit of that sweetness, a little bit of that bitter and flavor, and it's very cooling all at the same time. The sweetness makes it more palatable. I like lime juice is another one that has a slight sweet taste. And so if you're making a guacamole, adding that gives it a little bit of sweetness, which again may be more inviting to a child's palate. Another thing that I used to do with my kids is that we would plan on, I typically add a menu plan for the week. And then when they got a little bit older, but they were fairly small still, they could pick on their night what they'd like, right? And so if they came to the market and they picked something, and then I found that they were more likely to try something on another night if they knew that their night was coming, where they had, their pick.
Yeah.
Right? And then you still can set some boundaries over, what they can pick.
Yes,
So.
Children definitely need some boundaries to feel safe and to understand what's going on. These are all really great ideas. Are there foods to avoid during summertime?
So if not avoid, maybe limit, definitely intuitively spicy hot, right? So we're already hot. So if we eat things that are really hot, it's just going to bring that heat to too high a level. So curbing some of those food. And then that also apply to exercise, being mindful of what we do that bring that body into heat, because already the body is doing so much work trying to maintain balance in this increased heat. I know that, what I shared at the beginning about living this journey from a young age, it didn't prevent me from getting off balance. And I know that when I became perimenopausal, being balancing my heat just became a full-time job. And I can look in hindsight and see that there were a lot of things that I did which were not supportive of my constitution or the season of life that I was in. So we're talking about now we're in the season of summer, but then which season of life is your body in? Right? And so,
yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So that I just love all of this to support us as individuals as we go through our own personal seasons, and then marry it to the seasons of Mother Earth and the planet we live on. What do you say about meat? And because there is a trend now where people are eating a lot of meat to lose weight or to stay thin and strong. And or there's just people who love their meat, like my husband and many other husbands out there. But what are your thoughts about meat and how to go about consumption over the summer?
So I, again, like to look at the different lens of different modality to address this. So because you mentioned the male and husbands, I'll talk about, so men are solar, like hormonally speaking, is the same. So their cycle are a 24-hour cycle, as opposed to female are lunar. We are operating on a moon calendar, and our hormones and our reproductive tract, which is tucked inside, also mirror that moon element, that quality of being hidden and what is the word I'm looking for? Protected. So a lot of the trend, I like to look at trend through the lens of traditional, how the traditional generation did it before us, right? So eating all the hunter and gatherer, if the men were going to hunt and then would survive on meat, and they would eat every part of this meat. They also ate the organs, and which helped them. And I think a lot of the study that we show, unfortunately, a lot of times the data comes from men. And what I found is that when you try to apply that to the female body, it doesn't necessarily translate so well. So a lot of men do really well with high quantity of protein, with also long fasting, as opposed to female, especially in their childbearing years, in my opinion, do better with more variety, and definitely in summer, less so meat. And I personally eat more meat in the winter time, where I want to keep the heat and using my body again as as my gauge. So if I start to have cold hands, cold feet, I really, if I add a little bit more meat in my diet, that usually restores this nicely. As opposed to in the summertime, I don't have that issue. So I typically eat less meat, but I'm also in my 50s and in my menopause. And so I'm not ovulating on a monthly basis.
So how do we know if, well, first of all, that makes total sense over evolution and men going out be the hunters. It makes total sense why they do better on meats. But how do we know if the meat is serving us or not serving us? What are the signs, the symptoms?
So looking again at digestion, that's like an easy way. It always going back to the digestion. So the same way my mom always said, it's not how much money you make is how much you keep. With digestion, it's how much are you able to assimilate, right? And how much of the nourishment actually go through you. So if you're well nourished, and your body is working efficiently, you will have good circulation, you will have good energy sustained throughout the day. If you're experiencing those spikes, like some highs and some lows, then there may be some things that need to fine tune. Another thing that I like to look at is oral health.
Yes.
So looking at your tongue, both in traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, big advocate to look at the health of the tongue and then see what's there. And then simple practice of scraping your tongue first thing in the morning is nice and detoxifying. But you can also see is there a lot of sludge, right? So that may be an indication that, again, the body is not assimilating or digesting thing as well as good. Are your stools well formed, or is it more loose or diarrhea? That can be as a sign that you are not absorbing things well. And then the opposite is if you have little pebbles, right? So there's not enough water, there's not enough moisture in there. If you're experiencing a lot of bloating, a lot of discomfort in the digestive tract, that's usually where I start. And then kind of adding to that to your sleep. So I talked about your energy throughout the day. What is your sleep like? And all of these things, like if you think about it, your nourishment, and it's not just the food you eat, it's all of the sensory input that you get throughout the day. Yes. Those are all things that are taken in. And so when you're looking at imbalance, or if something is supportive of you, it's not just the food, it may be also the timing of the food. That's another thing. Is I usually in the summertime, we have a little bit more bandwidth than in winter because the days are longer. But I still highly recommend to eat your largest meal in the middle of the day, which is where the digestion is strongest. Just like the sun is at its peak in the sky, our digestion is strongest in the midday. And then definitely eating things that are a little bit lighter later in the day then can make up for better sleep and better digestion.
So it's just interesting how the standard in the West is like breakfast, lunch, meal, and dinner being the heaviest that we grew up thinking, unless you were brought up a certain way. But dinner was always the heaviest, the biggest, and then dessert after dinner. So, what are how can families begin to change, or not just families, but individuals or families begin to change this pattern? What are some easy, like one step at a time adjustments we can make to be more aligned with the cycle of each day and to improve our digestion?
Well, I like those small habits and then anchoring one habit on top of another one, but just changing one thing at a time. And definitely that was one of the hardest thing to change that evening meal, and bring it a little bit earlier in the day. And definitely when I had, two teenagers that were involved in different activities at night, it was really challenging. But then I started to lighten things up for me. And like an example, one of the meals I would often make would be like make your own taco, like a taco bar type of things.
I love that.
And then you can have, different toppings. You can have you can have some meat for the meat eater. You can have some beans, lots of different vegetables, and you can start eating a smaller portion for yourself. And then I started little bit at a time to make my midday meal larger. So if I had any leftovers, then I would eat a larger portion at lunchtime. And really the other thing is, and that's how I grew up with, is making the lunch a meal instead of on the go. And so just really sitting down and enjoying the food and chewing it. That was something that I had to work at, and I just changed a little bit, like maybe a couple minutes over weeks. And the other thing I wanted to say is one of the books that I read years ago. It's Change Your Body, Change Your Life, I think is the name of it. It's about circadian medicine. But the author referenced a study where people ate the exact same thing, but just based on the timing of when they ate, just digested the food better and actually lost weight versus putting on weight, right? So that was just, again, really insightful. And I could intuitively know that I slept so much better if I didn't have a full stomach when I went to sleep, right? So I tell people that when you're trying to make that evening meal lighter, at least to aim for 3 hours before the end of your meal and then the time you go to sleep, to give time for digestion to happen. And then the next piece of that is that being in bed at a reasonable hour is also really supportive for digestion, because a lot of this digestion is happening when we are asleep. So if we are going then it's interfering with the digestion process.
Yeah, that's so true. And I notice these effects very clearly on my systems too. And like, so especially right now, I'm doing a lot and working on this podcast, getting it going, and I'm staying up late right now just to get things done, because during the day I'm with my kids and I prioritize family, and then I'm teaching yoga. So at nighttime, when everything's quiet, is when I get really productive. And I'm noticing if I don't sleep as much, I definitely feel more bloated or tired. That my body is not as efficient. So I keep telling myself, you can't make this a habit. It's worth it right now, but don't keep on going. And I also way back in my early 20s, when I was heavily depressed, I wasn't sleeping at all. And, hindsight, the sleep is a big contribution, or it contributes a lot to our health and happiness and just our overall energy. So some people eat late and they feel like they can sleep better with a full stomach. What is that? I don't know how to phrase what I'm trying to say, but what might be the factor on why they think that this helps them sleep, or why they would need something sweet at the end of the day?
So I'm a big proponent, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So if you're happy the way things are,
I love that answer.
and it's working for you, at the same time, I often tell, and I did that, what you described about staying late when you have young children, because I so valued that time where there was no one asking me questions, where everything was quiet.
Oh, yeah.
And I felt like I could achieve so much, right? And back to that analogy I made earlier about women being lunar and men being solar, just using that gauge, you know how much you operate better when you go to sleep at an earlier time. And so I think taking those, when you can do anything for a season, but when the season extend into too long of a season, then that's when you're hitting some imbalance. Absolutely. Right? So when I go on a trip and then I change my ritual or I omit some of my ritual, it reminds me how much I value those rituals. Yes. Right? So I use them as a positive reminder. And it's really easy, I think, especially for women, to turn some of these ritual or self-care routine into things to check off a checklist, and then it's a checklist that is never ending, instead of something that is supportive and nourishing, right? So I don't have to do all of the practice all of the time. And when I don't do some, then, and I truly remember, I need to go back to this because that was really supportive. Yes. And I also like to change some of my self-care with the season. Because like now in the summer, one of the things that I do regularly in the season that I'm in my life too is the practice of Abhyanga, to do the self oil massage. And it can be done in a variety of ways to make it accessible to you. And you can vary the oil that you use with the season as well. So you can use oil that is more nourishing in the winter time, and then something that is lighter in the summertime. And again, that is a great barrier to help with counteract the heat and the dryness. Oh,
like a literal barrier.
Yes.
So
yes.
what's the oil for summertime?
So oil for summertime is coconut oil is probably one of the best for summertime. It can be a little bit, if you have a lot of air in your constitution, it may not be nourishing enough. But if you are in your reproductive years and still moist and juicy, it's a nice one. Almond oil, I like. There is at Trader Joe makes a lemongrass oil that is
lemongrass.
It's with a coconut oil and almond oil base. And the lemongrass is just really cooling too, and that will give you a protective layer. It's also really great before you go in the pool. If your pool has chlorine, it helps it to protect your skin from chlorine and from dehydration that comes from in the chlorine as well.
Before we flow back into today's episode, I have something special to share with you. Next week on Serenade to the Soul, I'll be guiding you through a deeply nourishing yin yoga practice for the summer centered around the heart meridian, inspired by this very episode. Yin yoga next week will be a very slow, grounding session that's designed to help you soften, reconnect, and expand from the inside out. Perfect for this fiery season of passion and possibility. The link to my YouTube channel is in the show notes. So mark your calendars, roll out your mat, and let your heart lead the way. Subscribe now so you don't miss it on Serenade to the Soul and on YouTube at JackieOM. All right, let's return to today's episode.
So if we go out in the sun and put sunscreen on, what do you recommend? Do we use it with the sunscreen, this oil, or does that not cooperate together? What are your suggestions?
So I feel like we could do a whole other episode just on sunscreen. I don't want to necessarily open this can of worm, but I personally prefer to use a barrier. So to use a rash guard for kids, especially so that yes, and then large brim hat, and then to use sunscreen sparingly, and then to use the barrier kind, the one that have zinc, and the non-nano is what I try to stick with.
The non-nano?
Nano. So nano, N-A-N-O. So nanoparticle means very, very small. And so usually when you're putting things on and it look a little bit white like a ghost, those are non-nano.
That's what I think about when I think sunscreen, is that heavy whiteness that takes forever to spread.
Yes. So unfortunately, I feel like that's the
standard,
the best one for the body, because I don't want these things that we put on our skin. I'm a big proponent. I don't put things on my skin that I typically would not eat.
That's a great reminder, because our skin absorbs whatever is on it.
Correct.
So speaking of summer and the heat and hydration, I've been noticing personally that the heat has been picking up, that I'm much more thirsty. Like, I need to hydrate more. I drink water all the time. But especially in the summer, my body's just like, juice, like, give me more liquid. What are some ways that we can stay hydrated in particular? And what are some strategies for those people who just don't like the taste of water? What are some healthy things that we can do to just enjoy and find pleasure in drinking and staying hydrated?
Yes. So I like to drink a small sip. That's something that I realized a couple of years ago, that I was drinking too much water. And there is such a thing as drinking too much water. And by the way, I don't remember my grandma ever going anywhere with a water bottle. And yet she had beautiful skin and she was well hydrated. So again, it's not just drinking the water, it's pacing yourself through the day at a peaceful pace. Now adding some hydration, and I do this test often, like rubbing the tongue over your teeth, noting if your mouth is dry or moist. And then typically when you find your mouth is dry, and then definitely by the time your lips are dry, they have been dried for a bit. So you want to be proactive. When maintaining moisture, it's finding the balance between the good fat and the water. I give this analogy of a dry sponge, which is what was happening to me a couple of years ago. So if you have a dry sponge and you run water through it, it will go right through the sponge. And so translation, you will have to go pee every 5 minutes, but you are not getting more hydrated. Now, if you take that sponge and then you replenish it with some oil, then you can take in some water and it will hold that moisture better.
That makes so much sense.
Right?
So adding oil to our drinks.
Well, not to your drinks necessarily, just to your diet. So having those good fat, right? So, but it could be to your drink as well. Actually, what I'm drinking right now, I'm drinking this dandelion rose tea, and I added a little bit of ghee to it. I love ghee. Ghee is clarified butter, and it has a little bit of a taste, but not much. And I often use that or coconut oil in my tea, and it gives you just a more grounding sense when you're consuming it. If you are doing some fresh press juices, those are really hydrating, and then the nutrients are in a way that they can be so easily absorbed by the body. So that would be a nice thing to do in the summer. And then I also like to add just a little bit of flavoring to the water, just to jazz it up. Yeah. So, that workshop, I served the mint and rose petal added to water. And I used the rose petal were dried, but the mint was fresh from my garden. And then you can use just a little bit of that, like an ounce, to just your regular water, and it will give it so much more freshness and coolness. Coriander can also be added to water. Coriander or cilantro. That's another cooling one. And coriander also has natural antihistamine properties. So if there's any allergies, it may be supportive. And I also like sparkling water, small amount. Again, just taking little sips. The mistake that in hindsight I was doing is I would wait until I was so thirsty, and then I would just drink my whole water bottle, right? As opposed to now, I try to just do small sip, and then letting it go around my mouth, and then swallow it. I also recommend to drink things at room temperature, not extremely iced or extremely very hot either in the summertime, obviously. But if you are eating or drinking something that is really cold, just letting it linger on your taste buds in your mouth just for a moment to bring it to room temperature before you swallow it. Again, that will just ease the digestive process.
It makes so much sense. What about for those people who are just really attached to coffee and hot coffee in particular? There's always the cold brew options, but are there any other caffeinated drinks that support our bodies efficiently and effectively during the summer?
So my favorite one is green tea. So green tea has that bitter flavor, which I said it helps to balance in the summertime. And coffee also has that bitterness. And again, back to the point I said, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So if you're drinking coffee and your body, it's working well for you, then you can drink your coffee. Especially people that have a more slow metabolism, and I don't want to get into the specific of Ayurveda, but if you have more like a dense body, you may appreciate and it may be supportive to have that coffee. There are things that you can add to the coffee, like I said, ghee. It's called, I think it was marketed a couple of years ago, that bullet coffee.
Yes.
Adding a little bit of fat to the coffee. Definitely looking at elimination, because coffee can bring about looser stool and make it that you're not assimilating things as well. So if that happens, and it may be more likely to happen in the summertime because you're hot, then you may benefit from adding a little bit of that oil, or the ghee, or even I've seen people putting a little bit of butter, in the coffee to ease it. But then the green tea, my go-to, I really like green tea. I like the matcha. You can do a matcha latte, and adding a little bit of milk, the milk of your choice, or ghee, again, helps to balance that bitterness and give you that little oomph of energy without creating too much heat in the system.
So what happens to our bodies when it's not assimilating the food that we eat and producing two ends of the spectrum, stools, like too loose or too hard? What causes that? Yeah.
So it could be one of two things, like you're eating too much or drinking too much, or your activity is too much, that it's revving up the body too much, right? So it's like the body cannot come to that place of homeostasis or cool down. Right?
So it's not just about the food, but how active we are. Yeah.
Correct. Okay. Right. And then, so the activity, that's something we didn't really specifically talk about, but so I talked about having a midday meal being the largest. That's also the time of the day where you want to, I really encourage people not to work out in that same time period where your digestion is strongest. If you do strenuous activity then that's going to bring up your heat to a point of unmanageability. So exercising in the earlier part of the day when it's a little cooler, is more supportive.
What about later in the night? Some people are night exercisers.
So that in my experience, that tends to interfere with your sleep. Typically, like the late afternoon can be okay, but again, I really suggest people pace their workout, especially in the summertime, to something that is a lot gentler. Swimming is wonderful. Walking in the moonlight after your evening meal, and just to keep those strenuous exercise for other parts of the year that you're not overheating.
So we're all individuals and have unique constitutions, and this is part of what makes Ayurveda and TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, very interesting. For our listeners, could we talk about, I know this is like, actually, it could be a whole podcast. Really, I mean, there are whole podcasts.
Yes.
So you could talk forever, but what are the most important things to know about Ayurveda, and how can people find out their doshas and how to approach their particular diets, knowing that their constitution would be supported by such and such?
Well, and again, there are some great podcasts that just explore this whole topic. But I find that it's not so much, you can take so many online quiz that tells you what you are. And to me, it's not that needed to know what you were born with. But I'm looking at what I'm working with in the moment, right? So what I'm working with, and then you look at the place of what's in balance and what is unbalanced. So we're all a combination of all of the elements and so in traditional Chinese medicine, the 5 elements, in Ayurveda, the 3 doshas, we're all a combination of all of the doshas and all of the elements, right? But some in greater proportion than the other. And literally just noticing when things are in balance. So I like to ask people, like, what's your favorite season? When, and then ask them, why is that, right? Because your favorite season may be because you're out of school, and that doesn't really tell you much about your constitution, but why is that? And so if people say, oh, I just feel so energized, or likewise, people will say, oh, I really don't like summer. It just drains me. And so you're using that. And then both in traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, you use the opposite to bring about balance, right? So if you are feeling sluggish, for example, you want to bring a little bit of movement, right? If you are feeling hot, you want to bring a little bit of something cool, right? And we intuitively know this, right? So if you eat something that's very, very spicy and you're on fire, you may reach out for a little bit of yogurt or some cucumber or for ice, right? To put on your tongue, right? And then, similarly, if you're feeling sluggish, going for some gentle movement, like bouncing on the trampoline, right? It doesn't have to be strenuous, but it has to just break that sluggishness or stagnation. So just starting with noticing what is, and then seeing what is out of balance. My dosha, one of the things I mentioned about my heat, right, which became a problem a couple of years ago. And every time that I would look at myself in the mirror, my face was flushed. And I definitely had just too much heat, and then too much heat in the head, but not necessarily in the rest of my body. So my hands could be cold, my feet could be cold, but my head was really hot, right? So again, that's an unbalance. And then there's some very simple qigong and yoga exercise that you can use to kind of bring that energy down the body, some simple pranayama, doing breath work. But again, the first thing first is to be aware, right? You cannot change things that you're not aware. So back to what you open up the episode by talking about aligning with nature, creating time to be in nature, to observe what's in nature, and then to observe our inner nature as well, right? So meditation, creating space to notice what you're working with day by day. And I know that, again, it's degrees and millimeters that we grow into this practice, but I notice now, like when it's raining, I'm extremely sensitive to that. Like it creates I can feel more sluggishness in my body instantly, right? And I am very sensitive. I have a lot of vata in my constitution, right? But just starting to notice these little things, and then you can bring about restorative practices to balance the body, given what is.
When you said the head holds a lot of heat, that made me think of my children. When they go outside and play, they get really flushed in the face and like really hot in their head, but they're not really sweating on their bodies that much, I would say. But for me, what's visible is how hot they look on their heads. I think even more than other children, but I don't know, maybe they're younger and haven't been exposed and running out in the sun as much as other children. But what causes that? How can we help them other than keeping the water out? Or what are some things we can do for our kids? Because kids don't really take the time to pause and think and be aware. That's just not where their stage of development is yet. Yeah.
Yes. So, but, and I'm thinking about I think my youngest daughter, whenever she would sleep, she would just have a puddle of sweat around her head. Like she was, we joke, like she always had a hot head. So grounding practices are the antidote to that. And with little kids, if you have a place in your yard that is, clean, that doesn't have any animals going in that area. Being barefoot is just so wonderful. And it's such a grounding practice. And again, just going outside with them earlier in the day when it's cooler. But definitely playing in the dirt, playing with having your hands and your feet on the ground, is just really helpful. An easy one. So making sandcastle at the beach or in your backyard.
just getting dirty and all up in it.
Yes.
And when I think about it, or if I'm just imagining it now, it already makes me feel grounded and better and more energized when I think about putting my hands in elements. So this is all great for kids. And so you mentioned also, so our food, yes, we nourish our physical bodies, but everything we take in, it's not just not food, it's also media, it's also other people's energy. How can we nourish our spirit, and what ways can we be mindful and apply some practices that just go beyond our 3D body?
So, in the season of summer, I do think that we have more bandwidth to take in things, again, because the focus is on joy, connection, expansion, but all becoming aware when we are off balance, right? So, I go back to my daughters, and I love the wording that they use that will say, "Well, my social battery is out."
Right? I love that wording.
So it's not personal, but I need time to recharge. So keeping things simple, we are energy being, and when we overdo it, we have to recharge. And the way that you recharge may look different per individual, and then for each season as well. So being mind, and then noticing the little things. So noticing when you are doing XYZ, or when you are in the vicinity of these people, what is the product on your body, looking at your structure, and then looking at way to come back to balance. And one of the tools that I often use for that, in addition to yoga and qigong, is TRE, the trauma and tension release exercise, to just help my structure, the body, to actually release excess, filling the blank. What is the excess? So too much of, it could be too much heat, too much information, too much stimulation, and just giving a little window for the body to release. I feel like the more that you can engage the body in the exercise, then the more beneficial it is. To just like the same way that when you are looking at the TV, looking at your device and taking in information, right? That information is not just affecting your head, it's affecting your whole system. So then the release process also needs to be focusing on body, mind, and spirit.
Yeah, the whole, overall, all aspects of life and all aspects of body, mind, and spirit. So what does this session with you look like, Catherine? If someone wants to come in and improve their health, or figure out what's going on, or suffering from chronic illness, what can you offer? I know you've worked with many clients with autoimmune and ADD, PTSD, and cancer. So what are some ways that you've helped these people, so that the listeners can get ideas if they want to come in and see you?
So for many years, I feel like I've changed the way that I meet the person, I always look at finding the modality that will bring about the most sustainable change in the shortest time. And so for a long time, I focused on food, and I used homeopathy and different health supplement to help bring the body back into balance. And then I also did the yoga and the other modality. But what I found is that by bringing the body into alignment, then the food, everything was so much easier than when you started with the food. So, and again, it may be different for each person. But I find that a lot of times to address the underlying issue, and a lot of people come because they have weight issues. I'll give that as an example, right? And so if you can, with trauma release, when you can meet them at the heart of why their body is not processing and acting in a way that you would expect, given the diet and exercise they're doing. So the TRE can help to address that layer, and then everything lines up. I remember the first time that I worked with a person that I had worked with for years doing diet. And when we did the TRE, her chronic constipation was addressed overnight. Right.
Wow.
And without changing, she had already done the diet change, and it was not creating grace and ease sustainably. And then the body being able to release that chronic tension was able to create the seed for healing. So every person is different, but really trying to meet the body where it's at, and then creating a plan from there.
I love that. What's the youngest person you've ever worked with?
Oh, well, I worked with pregnant women. So I worked with the baby in utero, and then as soon as it was out, I used to give like a protocol for during the birth and after birth to help to support the baby and mom as well. And I am not seeing new clients in the homeopathy realm anymore. I'm still working with my existing families, but yeah, it's really nice to see like all the kids, the families going through their own seasonal changes, and also to see family bring about healing for not just themselves, but their kids, and then second generation as well.
I love that. Of course, like these conditions that you've been working with, especially ADD and ADHD among the younger populations, how can you help those people? Or it's not younger populations, adults have it too. And
Correct.
So how examples of how you work with that with kids and with adults?
So definitely with the TRE, it's something that you can involve your whole family in. So a lot of time I will work with the mom and kids, or mom, dad, and kids. And once you learn to do the exercise, then they can be practiced on your own. So it's not something that you're relying on someone to do either. So it makes it really simple. And then doing some of the Qigong exercise, such as shake the tree, or just finding a couple of things that work with the body to help discharge. And I was a big proponent of that when I was raising our daughter, and I homeschooled for a long time. So I always tried to do short lessons, and then we would have like shaking breaks, or, do some physical activity. But I think, again, the fallacy that a young child is going to be able to sit and be quiet for an extended period of time is not necessarily realistic.
Yeah, definitely not realistic. And for adults too, like we can't sit for long periods of time, and yet we do because, that's what the work expects. Or
so, and again, just kind of using that an example. So so that's being stagnant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if your body wants to move, but then you're not moving, right? So one of the in Ayurveda, looking at the cause of disease is repressing urges, right? So when you're wanting to move and then you're constantly stifling that urge, right? So again, that can bring about imbalance. And and again, everything in balance, right? You can train yourself to sit and being comfortable and being mindful and being present. And especially with little kids, that is something that it's a muscle that needs to be grown.
Yeah, for sure. What about for those with autoimmune diseases? Are there things that they need to do differently even throughout the seasons and cycles of nature? Or what are your thoughts and experiences with that?
So definitely people with autoimmune tend to be very sensitive to everything. So that means that they're even more sensitive to the season change. So being extra loving and caring and gentle. I find that doing those loving practices, such as the Abhyanga, the self oil massage, or starting with just the hands and feet massage before you go to bed, can be just really a nice way to calm the nervous system and connect with the heart. And then asking yourself, because what is autoimmune? It's kind of a immune system that has gone in hypervigilant mode, right? So focusing on those breathing technique that help to bring us in alignment, some as alternate nostril breathing, keeping the body cool and calm, and then asking yourself, what can I do for myself today to feel loved and cared for?
Yes, this is all really great advice, and I just love how at the end of the day too, everything should just go back to what makes me feel joy, what makes me feel cared for and loved and seen and heard, and that helps amplify the immunity of our bodies as well. Yeah.
So just shifting the lens from having to do all of these things. A lot of time people are turned off by Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine by all of the rules, the do's and don'ts. But if you approach it from the heart and go about what brings me pleasure, what makes me feel love and support, then everything lines up so much better.
Yeah, that's a really great place to start. I think that's my big takeaway from this interview is approach from the heart, and let that set the motion into how you make your choices, and to keep things simple, because that also helps us have a better relationship with our own bodies, because our bodies are very intelligent, more intelligent than the mind will ever be. And if we can do that, it helps to, honor the hunger cues or the need to sleep when our body's tired, to honor that, and to really see, the nature of our own inner and outer selves as one.
Yes. And I have loved so much to study traditional Chinese medicine and connect with my internal organ in a way that I never before. But just having gratitude for my liver, for my heart, for, it sounds so out there, but then having a relationship and then really feeling when things are out of balance, has been just really helpful for me.
part of my gratitude practices too. I also include my internal organs because it makes a difference. I don't think it's out there, but I mean, it may seem like it, but it's interesting you bring that up. And when I'm teaching Nidra yoga and the bodies are just laying there, and when I do the body scans, I'll bring in the organs, and I can see people decompress. I can feel the energy change, and I could feel when someone, like when I name an organ and the awareness goes there, when someone has really released some energy in that organ. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes, I mean, I agree with you. Like I often say, when people leave my studio after doing TRE, I feel like when individual release, like the whole earth benefit, like so we all benefit collectively from releasing. And my the question you asked me earlier for people with autoimmune, my number one recommendation, which you just brought it, is Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra is such a beautiful practice for anyone, but people with autoimmune, I think it's such a beautiful way to bring that gentle awareness and that love and kindness for the body.
Yes, so true. On your when it comes to the foods and all these delicious things that you've mentioned, for the majority of us, it's a big switch, right? And then also it might be a little overwhelming. You've got so much to choose from. Are there like go-to recipes or resources that people can find to explore better eating and meal prep for the summertime?
So you could look up some resource for traditional Chinese medicine for fire element for the summertime, or Ayurveda as well. And I like in the summertime, I do a lot less cooking than I do in the winter time. So doing things that are fresher, I consume more raw things in the summer because my digestion is stronger. So eating those salads, those gently steamed greens, eating things that are just fresh. I like to grill and then have those fresh things, and then I will have leftovers for the midday meal the day after. And then eating fruits. Fruits often comes up, and it is a very refreshing. It's a nature's natural electrolyte. So, and eating fruit at a snack time. So it could be at the midday, at around 10 a.m. or in the middle of the afternoon. Can give you that nourishing feeling and give you that extra hydration. Again, most fruits have a lot of water in it, so it's also contribute to good hydration. And for as far as meal prep, I do more meal prepping in my head, and then I use and then I write it down over the weekend. I do this last now because my husband and I are empty nesters, so it's easier to throw things. But when I was working with my family, then I would definitely make a plan weekly. In the summertime, I love to use my slow cooker or my Instapot are my go-to. They're wonderful to cook an array of things, but including you can do some grains, some legumes, and it makes them easier to digest. So I use that a lot in the summer.
And what's the importance of maintaining a regular schedule, and this all-encompassing a regular schedule with eating and with exercising and with sleep?
So, I mentioned earlier circadian rhythm, right? So again, we look at nature and the sun rises at a certain time, and definitely it changes throughout the year. and then it's at its peak at a certain time, and then it goes to sleep at a certain time. So I think that as much as we want to be unique, the more that we can follow a predictable rhythm, most bodies do better with
For
that.
sure. I know I definitely do. But yeah, most bodies.
Now, having said that, the more in balance you are, the more resilient you are. So if you are eating in balance and honoring a schedule most of the time, then you'll have more bandwidth when things go this way or that, right?
So
but
true.
if you're already on the edge, then that may be the culprit. And that happens, sometimes over the years, it was very difficult for me to help. I'm referring one case in particular. Someone working, it was a female working the night shift, and had hormonal issues, and it was really hard because usually I tell people you go to sleep early, and then that can work for her because she works. So it's a lot easier to sync up with the cycle of nature, and you can go in a different direction for a season, but it takes a lot more work to bring about balance.
So that's a great point. Like people like nurses or firefighters or people that are on call late at night. How do they sync up with the cycles of nature?
So I say that when on your day off, you try to sync up as best as you can. Right. And do those grounding practices. And again, work with what you got, right? That's like kind of one of my motto in life. It's work with what you got, not with what you want to have. So, trying to make the best of your environment, and then see where there is room for things to shift. That person that I'm talking about with the hormone, eventually she did change job entirely. But she needed to she was able to do that when she got a little bit more grounding and when she could have her footing and she could have the strength to make a change.
Yeah.
Right. So, again, just looking that if you are going in opposite to what nature is offering, then you can bring about balance in other ways, but it requires a little extra work. Same thing with traveling. I can address traveling with the summer because a lot of time people will do a lot more traveling in the summer. And then, so all of this movement, that can create some inner instability. So really focusing on those grounding practices and nourishing practices, and again, doing the breath work, doing the warm teas. And I mentioned cilantro and coriander. I like that fennel. Fennel is also a sweet spice, and it's good for digestion, and can bring about.
I'm definitely gonna remember all this because my family we're traveling in a couple weeks, and I'm already feeling a little anxious because I too, like many people, we don't like it when our routines and practices get disturbed. But to just ground and remember to take care of ourselves, and it's okay not to do everything all the time. But
Well, and looking for, back to the dehydration, sometimes when you're traveling, you're not wanting to drink as much because you don't want to be having to stop every 5 minutes or if you're flying. So eating those food that will hold the moisture. I'm thinking like the chia seeds is a good one. It will give you that hydration, and then, will be able to hold to that hydration. Cardamom is another spice that I like to add. It's delicious too. And then those fruits, such as mango that I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, is just full of juiciness.
Yes. All of this is making me really hungry. Catherine, I like to wrap up episodes by asking some fun questions. So, what is your current favorite style of yoga?
So my favorite style at the moment is Supreme Release Yoga, which I just started practicing a few months ago. It's if I was to describe it for people that I've not encountered it yet, it'd be maybe more similar to yin or restorative. But it's just really focuses on the spine and the articulation of the spine, but in a very deep way. So it's a great yoga that I like to practice before going to bed. A few asanas.
I see. Yeah, that I'm gonna look that up. I haven't heard about that, but it's so interesting. And healthy spine, healthy life, right?
Yes.
Is there a style of yoga that you don't gravitate toward, or a style that you used to love that no longer serves you?
Well, I never used to like it, but the hot yoga, I just
some people just can't aren't hot yogis.
Yes. Again, I feel like I have to put so much energy in conserving my body's temperature. So that is not one yoga that's really supportive for me.
Yeah. And you don't know until you try either, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I didn't know either. I didn't have the greatest relationship with heat when I first started, but for me, somehow it was very transformative, and it did exactly what I needed to heal.
Yes.
So, yeah, you never know until you try.
Yes. But I love yin yoga. I love yin yoga, and I've been practicing yin for about 12 years, and that was just a beautiful new modality that has really helped me on my path to healing as well.
Likewise, me too. Now I practice all styles of yoga because you need them all. You can't just do one. Just like you can't eat the same thing over and over through all the seasons. We have different seasons in life, and every yoga style, they're not bad or right or wrong. It's just they have different intentions and personalities and environments. Yeah.
I do feel like summertime is a great time to start a yin yoga practice.
Yeah, because being still helps to cool the body down.
Correct.
And
Yes.
gentle and loving.
Yes.
What is your advice to any listeners who want to start a yoga practice but may have reservations or false assumptions about it?
So I often like to say in class that we're using the posture to get into our bodies. We're never trying to cram our bodies into a specific shape. That's not the purpose of yoga, right? So really approaching yoga as a way to getting in with your body, using yoga as a language to mend or to get in tune, in touch with your body.
Yes.
And most people are so disconnected from their bodies that often yoga or being in stillness is the first time in a long time since that connection happens. So approaching it again from the heart. From the heart. And then I often say, not just with yoga, but the best exercise is the one that you do with joy. Yes. So if you feel you got to drag yourself to a yoga class or to a whatever class, then maybe try a different class and then see which one that you can go with a little bit more pep in your step.
Yeah, I love all that, Catherine. Well, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your lovely energy with all of us. Do make sure to check her out. I posted her links and contact information under the show notes. If you live in Charlotte or are visiting, please do check her out. Totally worth it. There's a discount code, 10% off for a variety of her modalities and techniques to help you with healing and balancing using the promo code S2TS for Serenade to the Soul. Catherine, thank you. And may we all just live from the heart, find joy, and really embrace the season, whether we like it or not, to help us live in our bodies, minds, and emotions more fully and freely.
Beautiful. Thank you so much,
you.
Jackie. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you for sharing time and space with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Your support helps keep this podcast alive. And together, we thrive. I'll meet you here next Thursday. May your week be abundant and blessed. In the sound of Om, we say everything.